All right, you're on record.
All righty then. Meeting of the Township of the Parsippany-Troy Hills Planning Board, Monday, December 5th, 2022. It is 7:30 p.m. Announcement is made that adequate notice of this meeting has been given and that it is being conducted in accordance with NJSA 10:4-6 et sec of the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act. If we could stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Mealy.
Here.
Mr. Math.
Present.
Mr. Napolitano.
Here.
Mr. Von Aiken.
Here.
Chairman Dinsmore.
Here.
We also have our board planner, Ms. Winters, our board engineer, Mr. Canjiano, and our board attorney, Mr. Logano.
Very good. This meeting is open to the general public. Are there any members of the public that have anything they wish to bring before this board at this time that is not on our agenda? Yes, if you come up.
I don't know if I'm on the agenda or not. I'm a resident.
All right.
I got a notice from you that we're within the space.
The 200 feet. Either 9 Campus Drive or Cherry Hill Road.
Cherry Hill Road.
All right. Nora, I see
Yes.
only one applicant here at the moment.
They're the same for both.
Then yes. The Cherry Hill application is on tonight.
Okay.
If you want to give an overview.
Yes.
What they can anticipate.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman. So for the members of the public who are here for the applications, you were provided notice because you reside within 200 feet of the subject property, which is required by law. The notice that you've received is kind of a general overview of what the project is. This board has not heard any specific testimony yet. The applicant shortly will come up. He'll present his expert witnesses. He'll present some testimony. He'll let the board know exactly what they're asking to do, what relief they're seeking, and then the board will hear that. You'll be given the opportunity as a member of the public to ask any questions, and you'll also be given an opportunity after the conclusion of all testimony to give your opinion on the item. Okay? So if there's any questions with regard to procedure, I'll be happy to answer that. If not, Mr. Chairman, then turn it back over to you.
Sure. Certainly. I see other members of the public. Are you here for one of these cases as well?
Yes, is this for the 99 119 Cherry Hill Road? Yes.
Okay. Then maybe we'll move the Cherry Hill Road up to first. That way the public will have a chance to leave rather than going through both cases. Unless our scout wishes to stick around.
The Cherry Hill one first, sorry.
Exactly. All right, the first meeting we have on our agenda are the minutes. Now, Nora, if you could explain, we haven't done our minutes in a while because of COVID and other reasons.
You stop laughing. Yeah, well, I was, trying to print a book for you guys. I thought you might, miss seeing me every other week. So we don't have, if you didn't read them all, we could do some of them this week, some next week, or if you read them all, we could vote on them. You guys had a couple of weeks to read them.
I did spend some considerable time reading them, so I'm ready if anybody else is. I don't have any comments to share. I thought Nora did an excellent job, so.
All right, are there any other thoughts or comments on the minutes?
Would you like a motion, Mr. Chairman?
I would love a motion.
Would you like to do them, well, we have minor and regular, so.
We'll do the regular first.
Okay.
Mr. Mealy can do both if he
Sure.
wishes.
Okay. A motion to approve the minutes as enumerated in our agenda. Do I need to specify them all? I can.
They're in our agenda, so.
As
They're in the
enumerated in the
agenda,
agenda.
okay. And also a motion to approve the minutes of the minor committee as well.
All right, do I have a second for the
Second on both. I can be
Yes,
involved
you
in both.
can.
Yes.
All right, Nora, if you would call the roll first on the regular meetings and then on the minor.
Sure, Mealy,
Yes.
Math,
Yes, to all the meetings I actually attended. abstain for the two I missed.
Napolitano.
Yes.
Von Aiken.
Yes.
Dinsmore.
Also abstain on, and I'm trying to remember the dates that I wasn't here. There are one or two that I missed, but all the rest I would agree with.
On the minor, Mealy.
Yes.
Math. Math.
Oh, sorry?
The minor.
Minor.
Oh, yes.
Von Aiken.
Yes.
Thank you.
I'll go over them. I'll let you know which ones I didn't catch. All right, so that leaves us with our agenda. We'll start off with application number 22.508, Cherry Hill Portfolio LLC, 99 and 119 Cherry Hill Road, Block 411, Lots 16 and 16.01, preliminary and final major site plan to construct solar canopy carports. Yeah, I don't see any problem with handing them out. They weren't submitted before, so they're gonna have to be marked in evidence.
They'll be marked as they're introduced. I just thought it was easier if you were holding.
Is there any,
We can pre-mark them now. I mean, we could do them.
Yeah, I would prefer mark is just because they're in order.
How many sheets are there?
Like 5 or 6. 3. Okay. So you got the things on one page.
do you not have enough to let the public take a look at these
Oh,
too?
absolutely, no problem.
So council, you put all of the images that are blown up on one sheet.
I know they're on separate,
Okay. But those aren't in order.
The overhead first. Okay. Oh, I got it, yeah.
Council, can you pre-mark 2 of them? One for Nora and one for myself?
Doesn't look like there are a lot of waivers.
Thank you.
Okay, once we get this guy sworn in.
All right.
Good evening, everyone.
All right, the way we're gonna do this is we're gonna swear in your,
Can you get the name of the attorney?
Okay, I'm going to swear in Ryan first.
Please come to your appearance first.
Okay, Christopher Costa from law firm Stevens and Lee. LLC.
I'm sorry, spell your last name and speak into the mic.
Yep. Costa.
Ryan Veazey from Stantec Consulting. Last name V as in Victor, E-A-S-Y.
I'm sorry, what's your first name?
Ryan.
all right, as we're sorting through these things, we're gonna first go through the waivers with our planner here.
Okay.
Make sure that everything is up to speed.
So, I'm gonna go over the waivers in the report, dated March 29th, 2022. I'm assuming we scheduled the meeting, the taxes have been paid.
Yes.
The affidavit of ownership was received. Note on the certified list. It should also be added to the plans when
Yes,
they,
we can do
for
that.
resolution compliance. We have number 12, which is, wetlands, testimony about any effect on wetlands would need to be done.
We'll be providing that.
We've got our site photographs. Highlands exemption has been received.
We'll be sending that in.
Okay, so, you concur that floor plans were not needed. Testimony on any signage.
Yeah, waiver, there's gonna be no change in signage whatsoever.
The board engineer regarding any storm drainage needed.
What I asked for testimony tonight.
We need, and no SC plan was needed?
We're gonna find out tonight.
Okay. So that's gonna cover location of solid waste disposal, residential buildings, testimony whether there'll be any temporary structures or storage on the facility. I guess we do need a not applicable on the traffic study or the environmental. And we received our site photographs, and there's no expansion, so
So we need any waivers that isn't gonna be presented in testimony?
it does not look like it.
All right, we've gone over that, we don't have to pass anything.
Okay. Thank you all. Thank you for your attention this evening. I am Christopher Costa from the law firm Stevens and Lee. We represent Solips LLC. Solips is a solar company that's done much of the solar work throughout the state, some of the big facilities and also several canopies and rooftop structures such as the one we're looking at this evening. They are seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval for the installation of rooftop panels on existing structures and the installation of several solar canopy panels in the parking lot of 119 and 99 Cherry Hill Road. The property is located in the ROL zone, and these panels are permitted in this zone. Solips is seeking one variance in this application, and it's for an internal setback between the two lots. And Mr. Bessie will give the details of that variance that we're seeking. Well, and in our planner's report, or in the planner's report, there was discussion of certain variances that exist due to the pre-existing structures, there's setbacks. So to the extent those need to be confirmed, we would seek to do that here, but we're not impacting those pre-existing variances in any way. So that was a note from the file that I just wanted to acknowledge. We have one witness, Mr. Ryan Bessie, who is a professional engineer from Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. I'll move to qualifying Mr. Bessie, if I could.
Please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Name and professional address for the record. Please spell your last.
Ryan Beasy, that's B as in Victor, E-A-S-Y, and then address 124 Michelle Way, that's M-I-C-H-E-L-E Way, and then in Cinnaminson, C-I-N-N-A-M-I-N-S-O-N, New Jersey, 08077.
Thank you. Counselor, can you qualify the witness, please?
Sure. Ryan, could you give the board the benefit of your educational and professional background and appearance before this board or other boards in the state of New Jersey?
So I attended Rowan University, graduated in 2007, been a licensed engineer since 2012 in the state of New Jersey, and then have presented across a couple, several boards in New Jersey and also in the
Would you
state of
speak up,
Pennsylvania.
please?
I've also presented across several boards in the state of New Jersey and also Pennsylvania on similar planning applications.
We would ask that Mr. Veazey be accepted as an expert in professional engineering by this board.
Anybody have any questions on his qualifications? Accepted.
Thank you. Okay. Ryan, if you could take it away.
Yeah.
Site overview.
So I guess just to describe the existing site. So the site exists on 99-119 Cherry Hill Road. It consists of two existing commercial buildings. The first building, which is closest to Cherry Hill Road to the east, 119 Cherry Hill Road. And then the second building, which is further west into there, is 99 Cherry Hill Road. As part of this application, there's really no change there is no change associated with both the operations of the office buildings or the parking lot. The application itself is for the installation of solar carports over existing parking spaces. As a part of this application, there's no changes proposed to the actual existing parking spaces themselves. The actual installation of these carports is to be located within existing parking spaces in between the parking and then at the ends of the existing landscape islands. There is one area along 119 Cherry Hill Road where the actual proposed, just due to some storm structures out there, proposed carport structures land within the, between the parking spaces. Outside of that, I guess I'll kind of go over to the proposed layout, just for the benefit of the public.
This is
So,
A1 for the record.
yeah,
Yes. Thank you.
What are we going to call that?
this is a existing aerial with the proposed carports overlaid.
As well as the roof solar, correct?
Correct. So the application consists of, for 119, there are 4 carport structures proposed within the parking field, and then there's additional rooftop solar. And then on 99, there's a total of, 9 carports, and then the rooftop structures on top of that. All of these are placed within the existing parking field. As noted, there is one existing variance due to, as these are 2 separate lots, there is a accessory setback on the lot line of lot 1601, where the existing structure for the proposed carport encroaches into that. Outside of that, there's the only additional changes on this are related to landscaping that's being removed within the actual parking islands. There is some additional landscaping proposed along the edge, which would be the eastern edge. There's some low-level landscaping being proposed on that edge, and then there's some additional landscaping proposed on lot 16, just on the southern edge of the carport. The actual canopies, I guess, let me pull up some photos of the existing ones.
Ryan, before you do that, could you go back? I just want to have you maybe point out and describe as best you can in words where the variance is between the...
Yeah, so the actual variance is located, when this lot line jogs in this area, there's actually a, just with the offset from there, let me get the exact number.
Mr. Napolitano, can you see where he's pointing?
I cannot. This one here, right? As long as I have it right here.
Okay, I have that one. I'm good, thank you.
The variance itself is it's to permit an encroachment of 14.97 feet where a 25-foot side yard setback is required in this area. And as I said, this is right along, it's essentially that internal property line that's really the east-west property line that jogs down where the variance is created.
So the variance in this particular, the one variance we have in this particular application really only impacts the internal property line. It does not impact any of the external.
Correct. This is just a matter of the two internal shared property lines.
And this is A2. I think you're losing your leg there.
So the second exhibit, A2, is photographs of the existing parking area, just to give an idea of where these carports are being placed. So the first photograph is looking at a view of 119 Cherry Hill Road, and there's carport structures proposed within this parking field. They'll be in this area proposed within the actual landscape island. On the next photo that's shown to the right, these ones are actually, the carports are proposed within just the edge of the parking spaces just due to an existing stormwater structure, which is a storm line that's running underneath this landscape island. The next photo demonstrates on 99 Cherry Hill Road. This is the end of the parking area adjacent to the residential complex that's next to us, and this is one of the areas where we're proposing some additional low-level landscaping in that area. It already has evergreens in there, but there's some additional low-level plantings that are proposed there. And then the last photo shown at the bottom right is just a view looking at 99 Cherry Hill Road again, just showing the parking field that will have the actual carports placed within those parking spaces. I guess the third exhibit is just this is from other applications that our client has installed, just to give an idea of what some of these carports look in the parking areas. This would be Exhibit A3.
So this is an example of something one of your clients has done.
Correct.
It's not actually this application.
Correct. It's really, this is just for the view of the carport structures themselves, not the site. So this is really just showing these actual panels that are proposed are sloped to one side. There are a variety of panels on these. Some are half sizes that only go over one parking row, and then others go over the double bays of parking, which are the larger ones. They're all sloped to one side. I guess to cover some of the stormwater stuff, the actual carports themselves do not contain any downspouts. They just allow the water to sheet flow at the edge. There is a line at the edge of each one with an ice block to prevent any sheets of ice from falling off. But otherwise, for stormwater, it just keeps the stormwater flowing in the same direction that it's going. And part of that, I'll pull up our site plan just to talk about on the specific site, where drainage is going. So one of the things we took a look at with our application, and we've included is, and we'll include with the resolution compliance, is just the direction that the carports themselves are proposed to slope, and then where stormwater drainage is going. A majority of these are all flowing in the same direction of the stormwater structures that the area is draining to, so it's really just collecting the water on top of the carport, sheet flowing off, and then running towards the existing inlet structures that were collecting the stormwater when it just fell on the cars or the parking area itself. One other item I wanted to include with this is just the actual panels themselves, the carports. They do result in some additional impervious because we're placing them in landscape islands. On lot 16, there's approximately 99 square feet of additional impervious, and then on lot 1601, there's approximately 71 square feet of additional impervious, just associated with the actual footings or the foundations themselves, which lie within those areas.
Can you tell us what the existing impervious is?
It's not shown on your plans.
Yeah, we do not have the existing pervious shown on the plans here.
Does the survey have it, by any chance?
It does not, because I do have a copy of that.
Yeah, we can provide that for you.
Isn't it in the zoning data?
Yeah, they chose to, say there's no change. No change.
Yeah,
Listed.
okay.
And we can include with our resubmission, the full existing impervious coverage for both lot 16 and 1601, as part of that, and then just denoting the additional increase of impervious related to, the footings themselves.
Do you have, I kind of need some idea of your thoughts on what roughly the percentage of how far under the maximum do you believe you are? Because I think this is useful information, and what we may do is we may choose to memorialize, to come up with something and then approve it actually next week.
That's fine.
I guess it's next week.
So yeah, the existing, or the permitted is 70% per lot.
Right. Without this information, I feel uncomfortable approving, so I didn't feel uncomfortable approving a resolution that we would then memorialize the next meeting.
How much you
Provide the calculations, the variance, you gotta come back.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So you can testify to that.
Yeah, I mean, after looking at the plan right now, we are definitely, the existing site, based on the survey that they have on here for lot, both 16 and 1601, I mean, between the, significant amount of wooded area to the south on the one lot and then the other area to the north, we should definitely be under the 70% threshold. So the additional 99 square feet and the additional 71 square feet on lot 1601 should not cause an additional variance to be required.
Okay, so the whole point would be if we do approve this, we would be approving it without a variance, which
Correct.
means if you go back and figure it out and you need a variance, you gotta come back.
We
Okay.
know that. We don't like it, but we know it.
Yeah.
I understand that.
For 99 square feet, I mean, I don't,
That should, gosh, I hope.
On a 790 or 760,000 square foot lot.
Yeah. Pretty good.
Yeah.
understand,
Plus the
yeah,
one-
we don't,
we'll-
there's
we'll-
nothing else,
provide
we didn't
it.
call it out as a variance, we don't really have any testimony that
Correct.
it is a variance, so we'll treat it, and your notice, I'm sure it didn't call it out.
Right.
So we don't have any ability other than to hear the application as presented, you'll provide that data.
Correct.
If a variance is in fact needed, you'll either adjust your site plan downward to meet the requirement, or you'll have to come back before the board for that
Understood.
variance.
Correct. Okay.
Okay. Just want to make sure that we weren't going off in a direction that was going to give us grief.
Next item I just wanted to discuss was the changes to the proposed, or to the existing / proposed lighting plan. So within the carport structures themselves, in those areas, they're proposed to have under-mount canopy lighting. This will replace some of the existing light poles. One of the things we noted in the, I believe it was the engineering review, that we, as part of the resubmission, would include call-outs on here indicating which poles are to remain as existing light poles, and then showing the remainder proposed canopy lights, which are demonstrated on here as it's fixture A on the plan, a majority of them, and then there's a couple that are, the rest are the existing lighting that's shown on here, but we will denote on the plan the difference in fixtures themselves, just to clarify on the plan, the proposed canopy lights and then the existing pole lights to remain.
And the canopy lights, you said, are going to be located under
Yeah, so
canopies?
the canopy lights will be mounted underneath the solar carport canopies, and will actually provide a little better effect because we'll have a downward direction of light compared to just a standard typical light pole.
Could you update the plan to include the location? It seems like they're on the outer corner.
Correct.
Oh, they are in the outer.
Yeah, located right on the under bottom on the outer corner on
Will
the
it
higher
affect,
edge.
is it the low side or high side?
It's the high side.
She'll just update your
Yeah.
cross-section detail to show the typical location.
Okay.
While you're on the lighting, you know, obviously, there's current conditions and what you will be creating, and then you have residents that are perhaps within sight of this lighting, and I want some testimony regarding the visibility of that lighting and the timing of that lighting and things like that, so that we know that we're not creating a nuisance for any of the local residents.
Yeah, I can at least talk about the proposed changes in the lighting here, and then I'll head and discuss the proposed lighting, because I know we'll probably have to discuss that with our applicant, just on what the existing conditions are for hours of operation for lighting. But in terms of the proposed lighting, so on the existing survey. So right now, there are, within the islands closest to the residences, there are some existing light poles.
And those are by the apartments, right?
Correct, yeah, and I'm referring to just our overall existing conditions site demolition plan. So there's existing pole-mounted luminaires within those islands, and then also within the islands getting closer to the 99 Cherry Hill Road, and similar conditions for 119 Cherry Hill Road. As part of the proposed lighting change, the existing light poles that are within these islands will be removed. Also within the additional islands, as it's going closer, will be removed. And then the actual carports themselves will have the undermount canopy lighting, which is actually, based on our lighting levels on here, with the downward direction, is providing anywhere from about 1 foot candle around closer to the property line, and then an average, I believe we have of, we have this average 1.5 foot candle average throughout the parking area.
And is the light, when we call it light pollution, or the additional light that comes from this underlighting on a canopy versus, single pole, it would seem to be less because of the
Correct,
canopy?
because it's downward facing lighting
Okay. So
versus
it's
the
more-
existing lighting.
It's more contained.
Correct.
So all of the lights will be shielded so that there'll be no spillover off of the property.
We can ensure that the fixtures known as fixture C at the edge of these canopies, we can provide shields on those to ensure that they're not spilling over into the residential
Because the
properties.
objective would be to make it so that there are no hot spots that are
Correct.
visible by the residents, and that the overall light pollution is not something that will keep the residents concerned or awake at night.
Yeah, so as part of our resubmission, we'll then make sure that the proposed light fixture Cs are modified to face inward into the parking area, so they're not,
Is C a
illuminated.
proposed fixture?
yes,
Okay.
that's on the
And
edge
and
of
how
the center.
far are
of the
they
canopy.
from the residents to the south?
Well, right now, the aisle itself is 24 feet, and those are just over a parking space in.
No,
with
from
the
the
island.
adjoining, from the property line of 119, the southerly property line.
If you pull up a page.
Oh,
Go ahead.
go ahead. When you said the property line for,
That's the east, on the south. To the-
on these, oh, the light fixture C? These are also, I mean, this aisle, once again, I think this one is 26 feet wide, and then
But that's another office building, to the residents.
we got the residence here, and then you're talking about on Graken Road, or no?
Yes.
Yeah, so Graken would be in this area here. I got the
Grecian.
overall site plan on here, pull up the area. You're kind of talking about in this area here?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, if you had a guess.
Yeah, I mean, right now, just knowing that this is a 26-foot wide aisle here, plus parking, and then another parking field on these, I mean, these have to be at least probably 75 to 100 feet away.
No, there's nothing. So that whole southerly parking lot is not going to be covered with solar panels? It's
Correct, there's no changes
No
proposed to that.
changes there. The lighting that is there is going to continue to exist, and Hills of Troy will probably not see any change.
Correct.
And there's a couple buffer areas, it looks like, both between.
Correct, the
Yeah,
existing
there.
wooded area to the south here.
Right.
And then there's an area, there's actually a drainage stream that runs through the center of the site, which comes over here and then runs along the property line between the apartment complex and the,
So on the proposed lighting, the goal is to have it so you're not, so someone, an adjoining property, does not see the bulb. We don't want to see that bulb, even though the light would diminish, we don't want to see the bulb
Correct.
from across the property there. So it's any kind of shielding or recessing of the
light.
bulbs themselves inside the fixture, so they're not visible to the naked eye.
yeah, and we can, that's what, as I was indicating with these ones, because they're probably between this lot here and here, all on lot 1601 are probably the closest to affecting
Okay.
any of the surrounding property owners.
And is that area where there'll be additional buffering?
Correct.
And what is the approximate distance of, you know, the current tree line between, the proposed, solar canopies and the apartment complexes?
So right now, I mean, we're outside of the setback itself, which is, let's see. So from the property line, where the actual, this is probably about a good 90 feet to the carports itself. The 40-foot rear yard setback is shown right in this area, which is about in the middle of the woods, going right up the edge of the existing drainage stream that's running through there.
Okay, so are you saying it's about a 90-foot wooded area that's separating the solar canopy, the closest solar canopy from the?
Yeah, about 80 to 90 feet from there of existing wooded area. And
You said you're going to improve the buffering?
so this is the area shown here where you can kind of, you can see there's some existing evergreens. And yes, there's some low-level landscaping proposed here. There's some higher evergreens here. And
You're
we have
happy to
some
work
proposed.
with the forester or the town professionals on making sure that it's a satisfactory buffering and satisfactory plants that work here?
Yes, we'll work with it, yep.
Mr. Chair, I had a comment on that, and I see that you try to provide additional buffering along the easterly property line near the apartments. But it seems like there's a decent opportunity to add some additional trees, deciduous trees or evergreen trees in the southern area just south of the existing parking lot. There's a lawn area between the curb, the parking, that southerly parking area and the wooded tree line.
And you're talking about in
Yeah,
reference to
in that
lot
vicinity
1601?
there, Yeah.
I guess we can work with the
We'll
professionals
work
to
with professionals.
incorporate additional trees.
And that would provide some additional buffering to the residents to the south.
The area in question that he's talking about is right in this area.
There, and then the parking lot below there, that right there, right where your finger was.
Yeah.
The parking lot you're not touching there, yeah, that crescent-shaped lot.
Yeah,
Additional buffering in that area.
I would say that we can work to add some additional evergreens or
Yeah,
regular trees.
I know it seems like we're not impacted, but I guess you're looking for a way to create layers of buffering between?
Yes, I think there's we're taking down quite a number of trees.
Right.
There's an opportunity to
Right.
replant the trees on site in that
Right.
location.
Okay, yes.
So I think in terms of the proposed carports, that's kind of, we included the testimony that we needed for the required carports themselves and the,
I have a few questions for my report. Just land disturbance and soil and erosion sediment control. Do you have your numbers for that?
yeah, we just were actually working with the engineer on the proposed size of the trenching that's going on right now. When we originally had this, we were just under 5,000. With their final number, it looks like we may just be over 5,000, so if we are over that, we'll provide our number on the plan and then submit for soil conservation approval.
Yeah, so if you're over 5,000, provide the number on the plan regardless, but if you're over, you'll need to go to Morris County Soil Conservation District
Correct.
and get their certification. FHA, flood hazard area, is 2 regulated streams running across the property. For the record, are you disturbing any vegetated riparian areas?
No,
Are you changing grade elevations or creating fill in a floodplain?
no additional grading is proposed on site.
And then you mentioned stormwater before, but I just want to be clear, are there any changes to drainage patterns?
No, and as part of our resubmission, we'll actually include a breakdown of, where the drainage structures are flowing to, or current drainage is flowing to, and
Yes.
where the proposed panels include them.
And then we had a comment, since they're 2 separate properties, 2 separate buildings and 2 separate parking lots, we think it makes sense to provide an easement, cross easement for, it looks like you have the new electric trenching and utility crossing between the properties.
Yeah, I think there's no issue on that.
We will provide a cross easement for review.
Thank you. We talked about landscaping already, and you gotta revise your lot, or provide lot coverage.
Correct.
And give us the actual numbers. And then, were you proposing any EV parking spaces?
No, so we discussed this with the applicant, and they don't have any additional EV parking spaces proposed at this time.
So there's no change to parking. I don't know that's a requirement, since there is no additional parking, so I don't know that they have to add EV parking.
I believe the state law requires whenever your application for development, which this is, affects parking, you have to comply with the EV charging station. So what we could do, counselors, as a condition, say you have to comply with the state law requiring electric vehicle charging stations, make ready, and comply where you have to comply. My recollection, because we've done this at least on 2 prior occasions, I'm sorry, it's electric vehicle charging stations. So the state passed a new law last year requiring that whenever an applicant has these types of applications, that they have to provide electric vehicle charging stations for the site. My recollection, council, was that this would require,
Okay.
so we'll put it in as a condition
We'll
of
comply,
approval.
right.
And you'll have to update the plans to show where that would go and where the make ready would go with the conduit.
Okay.
And is that satisfactory?
That's fine, yeah, I wasn't sure how that goes, and we'll see what it comes up.
We're all learning this one now.
Yeah, my recollection was
I would agree that it is probably required for this application. How many parking spots are there?
We're gonna have to include that on the set, or the plans too, because I was just looking at that and it didn't have the total number broken out per lot.
Yeah. And I guess it would apply per lot and not collectively.
correct. I would assume that would, yeah, that's the way it would happen. It's 2 separate sites.
Yep.
My recollection was of the prior applications that were before this board, that was in fact where my review went. And it's pretty general in terms of what effect the parking means. I mean, you're digging footings, you're running conduit, you're altering the parking field, and then that was enough, in my opinion, to require it, so.
Okay. Understood.
That's all I had.
Ryan, if you could
All
provide
right.
testimony on the variances as well.
Yeah, so just to go back over the variance that's proposed. So the one variance, again, that's proposed is an internal setback variance that's located between Lot 16 and 1601. We're requesting a variance of 14.97 feet where 25-foot side yard setbacks required. This is just a result of this internal property line, and this consisting of Lot 1601 and Lot 16. Based on the proposal to use renewable energy, such as solar that we're proposing here, there's really a benefit of proposing this, and there's really no negative that's really created by granting a variance related to this setback. Since it's the internal property line, it's within the existing parking field, and then also just within the area it's not just changing any type of stormwater or anything else related to that.
Can you discuss, you have two lots here. If we consolidated the lots, you'd have no variance at all. So why isn't that possible?
Well, we have two separate, we're not the owner of the property. We discussed it with the owner, but they have two separate buildings on two separate lots. So it's really two separate operations that could potentially be bought and sold separately. So, many times there is an opportunity to consolidate in these cases, but this is one where they're separate operations, so that's why.
And the cross-access easement, of course, would
That is
make this...
feasible. Yeah, that's what we would provide.
I think the other question I have was regarding the pre-existing nonconformities. Can you confirm that those were previously approved?
They were, and we'll provide the documentation to that.
And we discussed before, no changes to parking and no new signage.
That's
Correct.
That's all I have.
Okay. Did you have, is this now the time for questions, or do you wish to continue presenting your case at this point?
I think other than concluding, I think we've presented, so I'd
Okay,
prefer to conclude after
Okay.
questions.
This whole wing wants to make,
Sure. So one of the notes that we have from our fire department was asking about the height clearance of your carports. Do you have that number for us?
Yes. So the minimum clearance for all the carports proposed is 13 feet 6 inches on the low side, and then it actually varies on the large side, just on the height, due to the size of the panels themselves. It ranges from 20 feet for the larger carports, and then the smaller one is 17.5 feet.
Okay. And do you know what the minimum clearance for our fire trucks are in District 6?
I actually do not have that, so I'd have to speak with the fire marshal to get that.
Okay, because I think that it would be important to make sure that trucks can pass under without damaging your system, just in case. I also don't want them damaging our trucks.
Correct, yeah.
We pay a lot of money for those.
Yeah, I know the ladder trucks are much larger.
Just for information, every 14 feet is the minimum clearance on a highway. Every vehicle clears that.
Okay.
I
This
think
is very
12
close.
feet's usually okay for a fire vehicle, but it's still worth checking.
Yeah, we can confirm with the fire marshal.
okay, Gordon, you said.
Oh, my question had to do with the height. You kind of already touched on that. So you said that the height is 20 feet at the maximum?
Correct, and that's,
These are accessory structures, right? Considered accessory
correct,
structures? In which case, we have a height limit of 15 feet for accessory structures in our ordinance.
So that may well require a variance.
Another variance.
Brian, can you explain what areas it goes up to 20 feet and why?
yeah, I mean,
'Cause we have
so,
the average at below 15.
but it's actually just a matter of, so the double carports, this is actually the largest on lot 16. It's just a matter, they're based on where they're placed for the sun. This has like a 7-degree tilt. So as I said, the minimum's always the same. It's just on this one with the larger carport that's proposed on here and similar ones on lot 1601, just the my time to do the
Yeah,
math. You're up to
Mr. Meth
20
is
feet.
correct, though. We have a limit of 15 feet, and that's often comes into play when accessory garages come into play, when the peak of the garage exceeds 15 feet. So I would think that would require an additional variance.
So, and just to clarify what you just said, your testimony then is that in order to clear vehicles and still be functional as a solar panel, because of the angle, you have no choice but to need a variance relief from the 15 feet? Is that what I heard you say?
Well,
It's not a
ultimately,
gotcha
yes.
question, it's just confirming.
The answer is yes.
Yes.
Could you point out on the plans, you said it wasn't all of them?
Well, I guess they're actually all over 15. The smallest is 17 and a half, and then the largest is 20.
Okay, so they're all angled at some
They're
position?
all,
on the
it's,
sun.
on this one, in this case, is 7 degrees tilt, so.
Every single proposed solar panel is over that 15 mark?
Correct.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Napolitano, you looked like you had a question?
Yeah, thank you. These color photos here, are
Yes.
these recent photographs?
These were taken, I'm gonna say, we actually visited the site over a year ago, so.
Okay, all right. I asked this because we had another application, I think last year or so, they wanted to put panels in the parking lot, and the parking lot was in disarray, and they wanted to build right on top of that. So I want to make sure that this parking lot is in good shape, because I think it's hard to do repairs when the panel's already up, so.
Yeah, and, I mean, as I said, these were, taken over a year ago, but we can include additional photos as part of our resubmission, just, to demonstrate the, condition of the existing parking field.
Okay. All right, thank you for that. I think you testified that you will not be changing the drainage. Is that right?
Correct.
So no one on Homer Street or Grecian Street have any worries whatsoever about having water in their backyards or basements?
No, this will still be directed in the same stormwater conveyance system.
Okay.
That's on site.
Thank you for that. And can you talk about the safety of the employees during construction? Are
Yeah.
they going to be directed to a different parking lot? Are they going to be directed to work from home that week? You know, that's going to work?
Well, yeah, this actually, only because this has come up in a couple of ones we had constructed, it is much simpler to do these, now, because most of these parking lots, I can't give the average on this one, but we're looking at, even on the peak days that they have people here, of under 75%. So they're able to kind of separate out the phasing of when this would be installed, to close off certain areas, keep other parking areas open. We had a similar application, for instance, in Piscataway, where we did that, and they just phased where they, started the construction of the carports and then opened that parking up and then closed the other area off, and they just did it with temporary construction fencing.
All right, good, thank you.
Mr. Mealy, you have a question?
Yes. In his letter to the board, the fire chief asks 2 questions. Where will the power shutoffs be located, and how will they be labeled?
Yeah, so I actually discussed this with our electrical engineer on the project. So the power shutoffs for both these are actually, turns out they're on both
What page are you referring to?
so this is going back to the overall site plan. So on 119 Cherry Hill, it's actually in the back right side of the building. There'll be shutoffs on there. And then on 99, it's on the front of the building, but in the upper right-hand corner, there'll be the emergency shutoffs. And we'll just indicate on the site plan.
Labeling?
Correct, we'll indicate the proposed location on the site plan.
Thank you.
And the fire department will always be able to have access to these if necessary, even when there's no management on site.
Correct, these are all exterior shutoffs.
Right. Okay. Other questions by our members of our board? No? Our professionals, do you have anything further? Andrew, do you have anything?
No, I'm good.
You're good? You're good? Okay. Now would be the time, if there are members of the public that would like to ask questions of this questions only, not testimony, and not your opinion, just simply questions of the testimony given by this witness at this time. If you can just come forward, state your name, your address, and then ask your question.
3 Homer Street, last name Halil. I'm just worried about, not worried, I'm wondering, are you gonna have transformers?
Please speak into the microphone.
Are you gonna have transformers?
So this, yeah, this will go in the location of the existing transformers that will be
Right,
connected into
and
that.
Wondering whether they're gonna be noisy or not.
I mean, I guess, this will just be going to the existing transformers that are out on site and just be supplemented in that area.
So would there, are you saying there wouldn't be a change in the noise?
I mean, I'd have to talk with the electrical engineer on the change in noise
Can
there.
you show on the plans where those existing transformers and where the proposed one will be going?
The survey. So there's, on this, I guess this is located on lot 16, in the parking field that's kind of between 99 and 119, there's existing transformers where this is being connected into in that area.
All right, then, my question is, can we find out how noisy they're gonna be?
Hold the microphone closer and speak into it.
How noisy are they gonna be?
I would have to obtain that information from an electrical engineer on that.
How many kilowatts are we talking about?
The same thing, I'd have to check with the electrical engineer on that.
That would be, I know at night it won't matter, but during the day.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, other members of the public have questions of this testimony at this time? As
My name is Inez Prost from 11 Grecian Street. Have a question about any health concerns that we have with the EMFs.
What was that? Say that again?
Any health risks involved?
But what was the?
EMFs,
I'm not familiar with the term
the
EMF.
electromagnetic fields.
In terms of that, I'm not aware of any. I can't provide any additional testimony on
The
EMFs for that.
decibel levels of the noise, how much more would that be? And I know you're going to ask that, but
Yeah, it's the same thing related to any additional noise in the transformer. I'd have to confirm with electrical engineer on the
so are you
changes to that.
saying right now that the transformers that are there now are going to be the same type of noise level that will be with all these panels?
Well, just because I don't know the exact changes to the transformer, I can't provide additional testimony on that.
Okay, so when will you find out?
I mean, we can include supplemental information with our compliance resubmission on the changes to the...
Does that mean like another meeting? I mean, like, how does the public find that out?
We will provide that to the board in a submission and publish check in with the board and find out.
Everything submitted will be public record.
Okay. All right. Right.
Yes, please come forward, state your name, address.
I'm getting there.
Your microphone's over.
Hi, my name is Salva Nora. I'm at property 69, which is 3 Homer Street. My question is twofold. One is, I'd like to know what time the construction is going to start on this, because it's going to be quite noisy, especially since I'm sure they're jackhammering to get the foundations in for the poles that hold up the panels. And I guess they're going to adhere to the 9 o'clock rule for Parsippany, right? That they start at a certain time and they end at a certain time. That's one of the questions. So I wanted to know what time construction's going to start, and also what days construction is going to take place, and for how long.
You'll need a microphone.
We would comply with all the municipal requirements in terms of times of day and also days of the week. So
Okay.
we don't know the exact schedule, but we will comply with it.
Okay.
Everything required by the township.
All right, that's good. So, I also have a concern for the reflectance of these panels. Are they gonna create any kind of glare? I mean, like, the angle of it, I mean, it's 20 feet high, one of them. I mean, this room is like, what, 12 feet high? So it's gonna be almost twice that in the height on the high part, and then, what was it, 13 feet on the
The
bottom?
low part, yeah.
So the angle of it, is it gonna create a lot of glare? I mean, is it gonna create any kind of problems with any of the vegetation in the area? Like, is it gonna kill any trees, something like that?
No, I mean, as part of the landscaping that's directly around this, that's in the parking field, that's being removed, and that's where we agreed to supplement in other areas further on site,
So-
whether it's in the south or,
So you're gonna put additional plantings like conifers, like tall trees or shrubs or?
correct, like, for instance, on the eastern property line, as part of this, there is pretty significant existing evergreen
Right.
trees, so we're talking about proposing some lower evergreen shrubs to kind
Okay.
of fill in that
What
buffer.
about like, in the parking lot between, I guess it's 119 and, Homer Street?
So that was the additional area that he was referring to earlier about adding some trees within this parking field here and in some other areas to supplement and add additional
Okay, so you're
evergreens and
putting
deciduous
shields
trees.
on those lights, and you said they were 1.5-foot candles, correct?
That's the average throughout the parking field.
So right now they're emitting 1-foot candle?
Yeah, so we, as part of our lighting plan, we have a demonstration of where the foot candles are.
Okay,
on-
and are they on, at night, like 24 hours?
That's one thing we'd have to confirm with our applicant
They'll be on the same schedule that they're on.
currently.
Okay,
The schedule will not change.
all right, that was my question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Explain that again.
If they're creating a nuisance at their light levels,
Yeah,
you can have.
okay. It's being suggested to me that we would have a period of time where the residents can note that it's a nuisance, and if it is a nuisance, and we get complaints, that maybe there can be some dimming of the lights or rethinking of the timing of the schedule.
Of the lighting?
Yeah.
Correct.
I mean, most modern LED lighting structures nowadays, correct me if I'm wrong, Andrew, are dimmable.
Right, correct.
And that if it becomes a nuisance for the locals, for the residents nearby, then there could be some discussion of perhaps changing the lighting schedule and/or reducing the lighting during those periods of time when it's considered a nuisance.
We certainly can, I mean, we have no objection to working with the township on that. I'm just trying to figure out how to
What,
memorialize that.
as a condition, the board will retain jurisdiction for a period of 6 months while after the lights are installed or after CO. If there are complaints from the neighbors about the lighting levels, then hopefully we'll make our way down to the board engineer, and the board engineer can contact you or the applicant, and we can make those changes at that time. Since we don't know, we're kind of have the lighting plan, but we don't know the practical effect of it. And since we do have the ability to dim those lights, and these are not 24-hour operations, correct?
No, they're office parks.
They're office
so,
parks,
yeah.
right. So there's no real need to have them
Right.
at the highest level 24/7. If it becomes that, maybe that's was missed along the lines that these
Right.
lights aren't being turned off, say, after 10 o'clock.
Right.
Then that's something that the neighbors can certainly call into the township, and we can adjust that very easily.
Right.
And that's really the whole intent of that kind of a condition.
Okay, yeah, I think we can agree to that.
All right. Any other members of the public have any questions on this testimony at this time?
I just want wanted to know how many lights there are on the panel. I got one panel.
You mean the proposed canopy lights? I mean, it's, lighting plan. So,
Just to clarify, the question was a bit ambiguous. It's not the panel that's lit, it's the underneath structure that has the metal structure will have a light facing downward into the parking area.
Oh.
So the panels themselves will not be lit.
correct, and just for the typical, I can say on here, for instance, on these runs of canopies, there's 3 proposed lights, one at each end and one in the center.
And all underneath,
Correct, all pointed downwards.
Okay. Very good. Any other members of the board or professionals? Counselor, do you have,
Just some quick concluding remarks is all I have.
Mr. Chairman, open it to the board for final testimony from the public before
Yeah.
council gives it.
it's usually our way of doing things to allow any members of the public who wish to speak in opposition to this to speak before you give concluding remarks, because you like to reserve them for after they've said what they've said.
That is...
Are there any members of the public that would like to speak in opposition to this application at this time? Okay, are there any members that like to speak in favor of this application at this time?
The only opposition is,
Hold on, man.
Yeah, just,
Yeah.
if you have, if this is a good time for comments, whether it's in opposition or in favor, if you come forward and make comments so that we can better do our jobs, then we have to swear you in though, because now you're going to testify as to what you're going to give an opinion and your thoughts on something. So
you could, Councilman, please hand her the mic. Thank you. And if you could just please raise your right hand, because I'm going to swear you in. Do you swear from the testimony you're about to give will be the whole truth?
yes.
Please state your name, spell your last, and provide us with your address, please.
Okay. My last name is Nora, N as in Nancy, U-R-A. And my address is 3 Homer Street, which is lot 69, block 411.
Right.
Okay, my opinion is building 119 is currently vacant. The entire building is vacant. Is this going to create any kind of vandalism problems by putting in these panels? That's my opinion, question. I don't know if it's an opinion or a question.
It's a point.
Concern.
And
I mean, I'm concerned because the building is empty now, and hopefully it'll have tenants. But right now it's empty, and I'm thinking that, I don't know, if these panels go in, will it make it a site for any kind of crime, and that's my concern.
Counselor, if you want to,
I guess my thought is one, there's plans that the building not be vacant. There's a build-out period for these panels, so, it's likely or certainly possible that the building will be occupied by that time. But, I think that, the builder is responsible for, creating some level of security with these panels, not fencing them, but they've got to keep a watch on them, as would any builder of very expensive apparatus. So I think that this would actually lessen the likelihood of crime, quite honestly, because it would create the impression of a more inhabited facility, because the panels would be brand new and installed, and there'd be the related improvements.
what you're saying is also that the landlord wouldn't put all this money in there without the hope of having some sort of return.
Correct. And a tenant.
And the tenant
Yes.
would be the source of that return.
Right, correct. Yeah, so it's certainly a good point, but I don't think there's a direct connection between that and additional safety concerns.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
sure. If you would like to come up and, oh, all right. if you want to ask a question now, we better get it done.
So Inez Prost from 11 Grecian Street, and the question is whether or not, what is the decibel levels that are permitted through the township, and would they need an extra variance for that if it supersedes the decibel levels of the transformers?
We have some nuisance laws.
Yeah, I don't believe this board can actually grant variance relief from either the state or the local noise levels limits.
So who would grant, how would you determine?
So what happens is the health department can actually come out and measure decibels. And if an applicant has mechanical devices that exceed the thresholds they're allowed, then they're gonna be required to come up with some way to abate the noise.
Allowed by where? By New Jersey or allowed
Well,
by
we
the
have a
township?
local ordinance affecting noise, and there's statewide regulations, a Noise Abatement Act, that limit how many decibels can be put across a residential property line. And it's different for daytime and nighttime. I just can't recall what the numbers are. I think it might be 75 and 60.
Yeah, it's in the range. 70, 80.
Those are the same regulations that are often used for fireworks. The difference is those are difficult to prove. This would be very easy to prove because they'd be making the noise all the time. So if it was something that was noticeable to you, you would be able to call it and have somebody.
How often would that go? I mean, how often would the transformers be turning on and off? Like,
You have to speak
how many
into the
times-
mic.
How many times during the day would, or at night, would the transformers work?
I mean, the existing transformers themselves would be on all the time. The additional stuff for solar would only be during daytime when the sunlight's out.
So there's an existing noise from the transformers that's already there. And what we're gonna provide you is information as to whether this is actually going to increase that noise.
Okay.
On shift. Because it may not change it at all, but we'll provide that information to the township.
Is the noise from those transformers right now something that is disturbing you?
No.
Okay.
I just don't want it
Yeah.
It's
It's a big unknown, right, so.
I know.
I have a, Mr. Vesey, do these
So we don't know after it's done, then it's like, oh, wow.
I'll say, Mr. Vesey, do these transformers have specs, like generators, that can be reviewed?
I mean, we'll have to pull, I mean, these are normally from the power companies themselves that are provided, so we'd have to get that information from them, just because it's their standard specifications. It's not like a
So-
transformer like proposed.
The question I have is that either you're gonna have to get a certification from your electrical engineer
Correct.
for the specs and/or both of those to support the DBAs that will be generated from this transformer, and get those over to the board engineer for review. And Mr. Chairman, if at that time you're exceeding the DBAs, then the board engineer can recommend sound attenuation, whether it be fencing or actual, materials that could be
And
surrounding.
you're referring to the actual state levels for daytime and nighttime?
Correct. I think that's the measurement that we would have to go by.
Yeah, state and/or local.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, you have to comply with the noise ordinance.
Right.
The state levels and the local levels. That's,
So all I'm asking from, Andrew, is that they provide you with that information for review.
they can provide it to us. We don't get involved in the state level review for noise ordinances.
Okay.
That's not part of this board's review. But they should submit it for the record, and if there's any issues with noise, you have to contact the zoning officer and/or the health department, and they will investigate. And they have to comply with the rules.
Rule followers.
Yes.
And they're gonna agree to comply with all the rules.
Okay.
This is a crazy question. Do the transformers work at nighttime? No, right? They don't keep running.
They do work because they're connected to the power grid. They do not help the flow of the solar system.
Correct. I mean, they'll be
The
running.
solar ones shouldn't work at nighttime.
Right.
Okay.
They're not
The other ones.
distinct. They're the same same
Correct.
system. So
No,
yeah.
solar's feeding into those transformers.
That's correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha. So we're
Sorry,
getting more
pulling from my own
extra
experience in
nighttime.
solar.
No, but yeah, correct. I mean, this is just instead of pulling power from the grid, this is pulling it from the
Okay.
carports themselves.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for participating. All right, Counselor, seeing and hearing no other members of the public that wish to come forward and speak at this time.
I'm sorry, it's a really small question, it's this big. Where's the high end of the carport and where's the low end? Like, what is it pointing towards? Is it pointing towards Grecian?
Yes.
Or is it pointing like the other way? Where like that?
Those of us who have read the topography of these
The
maps.
south side, they're trying to get the light on
So
from the
this
south side.
this top part is high and then this is the low part? So it's like that?
Correct. Yes.
And it's pointing it up?
Actually, the glare would not come to you at that because the sun is facing this way and it would reflect off the other way.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
We're getting solar ourselves.
All right, Counselor.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everyone. So I just wanted to touch base on the variances, which is now plural. So we're seeking the internal variance for the setback between the two lots. As mentioned by Ryan, we satisfy the positive criteria. One of the purposes of zoning under the MLUL is to promote utilization of renewable energy resources, which this does. Incidentally, the definition of inherently beneficial use also includes wind, solar, and photovoltaic energy facility or structure, so I think we fall under that category as well. And I believe we've shown that there are really no significant negative impacts to the zoning ordinance or to the zone plan or to the community of these uses, and we've provided a number of ways to mitigate those concerns as well. In terms of the height variance, again, we are adding the additional height in order to satisfy the requirements to obtain the solar energy, and therefore we're promoting the utilization of renewable energy sources to the benefit of the positive criteria. And again, we don't feel that we're creating any negative by that additional height above the 15 feet. So for those reasons, we would ask that the board both approve the site plan that we proposed and the variances subject to the conditions which we've discussed tonight and which I suspect the board attorney is going to list in detail for us.
He will.
At the appropriate time.
Okay, so this closes the evidentiary portion of this hearing tonight. Do we have a resolution, or do we wish to go into our own little council here? Do I have a resolution?
I have no comments to present.
Okay. Somebody willing to move a resolution?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Mealy.
a motion to approve application number 22.508 Cherry Hill Portfolio LLC, 99 and 119 Cherry Hill Road, Block 411, lots 16 and 16.01, preliminary and final major site plan to construct solar canopy carports with conditions as enumerated by the professional staff.
And the variances, it also improves the variances.
The pre-existing variances, or are we discussing?
Well, the providing the variance for the height.
For the, yes, for the height and the minimum side yard setback.
Yeah.
Mr. Canjiano, did you have any comments?
Just the conditions we spoke about earlier about revising the plan for the impervious coverage, revising the plan to show the square footage of disturbance, the additional landscaping, the easement, the better enhance the lighting details, I think that was everything.
Mr. Lagana?
Yes, I have, in addition to the ones Mr. Canjiano just stated, I have submit, the landscaping plan to the township forester for the additional buffering. If you're over the area of disturbance of 5,000 square feet, you'll have to submit for the Morris County Soil Conservation District to provide the specs for the transformer
Is that 5,000 square feet
of disturbance.
for the total application for both lots or just for each lot?
We have done it as both lots as one,
That's one lot.
so.
Interesting. So, you should consult with the Soil Conservation District to see if they're gonna look at the site as one site or two.
We can do that.
Okay, just intellectually,
Yes.
struck me.
Isn't there another condition about providing the lot coverage and verifying that it's not a variance?
Yes. So that was, it was to provide the impervious coverage calculations, and again, either you have two options, either you're going to adjust your plans if you're over, if you're under, you're fine, or come back here with that variance request. Agreed the 6-month lighting review and make adjustments if necessary, provide the cross-access easement between the properties to be reviewed by the board attorney, update the plans to provide electric vehicle charging stations in accordance with state law, provide the total parking existing on-site in order to determine the EVCS requirement, provide the prior resolution for the pre-existing nonconformities, resubmit the panel figures to the fire department to see if they have any additional comments regarding the height.
And clearance?
And clearance, correct. And that's all I have.
So noted, Mr. Chairman.
Do I have a second?
Second, Math.
Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Mealy,
Yes.
Matt,
Yes.
Napolitano.
Yes.
Von Aiken,
Yes.
Dinsmore.
Yes. As you can tell, just because something is deemed to be inherently beneficial doesn't mean we aren't going to do our due diligence.
I had no doubt. Thank you.
Although that's not really,
No?
that's not a use of
Application. True. You're right.
the purpose of zoning has been this issue.
Well, I spent 19 years in the zoning board, so.
Sorry to hear that. Bless you.
All righty then, we're gonna move on from the Cherry Hill application to the Campus Road application. So calling at this time, application number 22.507, 9 Campus Drive, KM LLC, 9 Campus Drive, Block 202, Lot 3, Spot 01, preliminary and final major site plan to construct solar canopy carport. Sounds familiar somehow. Now that we've given you a roadmap as to how to get your application approved.
Testimony should be easy this time.
Yeah, express version.
Council, this is A3.
That's not marked, that's just for, he doesn't have that up there, so that's just for,
This is being disseminated though.
yeah.
I'm gonna mark
You can mark it A3.
A3,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a Google aerial. Nora,
Yeah.
this second sheet, I don't know if the packet is stapled,
Out of the
we're going to mark that as A3.
You are.
This one's a little bit rough.
Council, are there two versions? One is going to be the proposed, and one is the existing, or is this just a
That was,
leftover?
yeah, well, Ryan and I had a disconnect on that.
Okay, so it's only 3 sheets.
Correct. And I'm actually gonna add an A4, which is the same thing you've already seen in the last application, but just to complete it. It'll be existing. I'm sorry, a rendering.
Rendering.
Yes, we've already got it. All right, Counselor, how are you going to go about your business tonight?
All right. Chris Costa, law firm of Stevens and Lee, representing Solops LLC. We are seeking preliminary and final major site plan approval for the property at 9 Campus Drive in connection with the installation of solar panel canopies in the parking lot. There's no rooftop solar in this instance. The property is about 10.2 acres. And it's located in the SED 10 zone. Canopies are permitted in this use, and we propose to install 7 canopies, which our engineer will discuss in more detail. This property is a little unusual, and this happens sometimes in that it has 3 frontages. It's surrounded by 3 roads, so all of the sides of the property, except one, are construed as front yard setbacks. That is relevant in this case because it triggers 2 variances, a variance on both sides of the property for the setback of an accessory structure from both Dryden Court and Hilton Court, pursuant to section 43013 of the ordinance. Again, we would, to the extent necessary, we would seek to confirm the existing variances that were obtained by the property owner in connection with the building of its structures. And we'll have 1 witness this evening, Ryan Vesey, and still from Stantec Consulting Services, Inc. And I would ask, since he has recently testified before this board, that he be qualified or viewed as a qualified engineer for the purposes of this.
Anybody come up with any questions on his qualifications since?
Is your license current?
Has it been suspended in the last 30 seconds?
No, if he's, yes, I like the idea of swearing him in
Yes.
before we talk about it.
Sir, please raise your hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Name and professional address for the record.
Brian Beasy, V as in Victor, E-A-S-Y, from Stantec Consulting. Address 124 Michelle Way, Siddaminster, New Jersey, 08077.
I don't think your microphone's on. They were already on, so when someone pressed the button, you muted it.
There you go. Yep, there we go.
There you go. All right, we've got that on the record. Now we've got the question, the waivers, before we go forward.
A little bit of deja vu. Assume certification, taxes have been paid, you've been scheduled. Did we receive statement from the property owner guaranteeing permission for the board?
Yes.
The certified list should be put on the cover page of the plans during resolution compliance. Testimony in regards to any wetlands, any protected covenants. We'll be submitting or have submitted the Highlands exemption.
We'll be submitting, yep.
Those are, we'll go over any of the engineering testimony, soil erosion, drainage, etc., as listed. Testify to any storage or construction. And we've got traffic study and the environmental assessment are not applicable. You've submitted site photographs, so I don't believe we have any waivers this time either.
That is good news. And one thing I didn't include, we will, I believe, Ryan, have a height variance that we'll be seeking
Correct.
in this one as well. Okay.
Okay.
So that'll be
Okay.
two side setbacks and one height variance.
Mr. Canjiano, you satisfied that there's nothing,
Excuse me? Sorry.
and anything that, we need to do a waiver on that,
No, the same testimony as last time on stormwater and on the disturbance as well for the waivers.
just wanted to make that doubly clear. All right, so we don't have to vote on anything this time either. Counselor?
Okay. Ryan, if you could
Sure.
move forward.
So I guess this is, I believe, Exhibit A1, which is an aerial rendering showing the proposed carport structures. So as he was discussing, this property is located along 3 frontages: Dryden Way, Campus Drive to the north, and then Hilton Court to the west. And then the property to the south is another existing office complex. The proposed carports are to be located within the existing parking field. There is currently right now some tiny landscape islands that are circular in size that all the car parking spaces abut every so often, which contain either several small trees or globe lights, a little different layout. We pull up, I believe this is Exhibit A2, which are site photographs which were taken by Stantec visiting the site. Once again, these were approximately taken about a year ago. We have several views. So we have the upper corner, we have a view looking along to the existing office building. This is going throughout the parking field. This kind of just is demonstrating these existing globe lights, and also the view that you kind of see along Campus Drive. There's existing trees and a buffer, just a landscape lawn with trees between the roadway and the existing parking field. On the upper right, we have another view which is looking along Dryden Way. This is very similar. There's a lawn landscape area with trees that separates the site from Dryden Way itself. On the lower left-hand corner, that's just another view kind of demonstrating throughout the parking lot, the condition of the parking lot, but also just the existing landscaping and also light fixtures that exist within this parking field. And then at the bottom right is another view further over, just kind of demonstrating additional lighting. There are some different lights that are not the same as the globe lights, which are just existing metal halide lights which are facing down. And all these light fixtures are relatively low on the site related to this. Going back to Exhibit A1, so within the proposed carports, there are 2 variances requested as part of this. Both Hilton Court and, all 3 roadways have a 150-foot setback buffer from the right-of-way line itself. Right now, the existing parking field is much closer to that. We're proposing these carport structures within this area. There's also the existing building itself, which has been noted, at least in our plans, encroaches into both the Hilton Court setback for the 150 feet and the Dryden Way. Outside of that, in terms of the carports themselves, so the drainage right now, if you're looking at this plan, everything's going to the east. There's actually a series of inlets in the center that collects everything and then drains it to the stormwater pond that's along Campus Drive. Right now, as I indicated, all the solar panels themselves are sloped towards the existing drainage structures. There's very minimal change really to the drainage pattern themselves, because everything that hits the carport structures, just drains directly off. There's no proposed canopy or downspout, and then there is an actual ice or an edge block to control ice panels along these. I guess outside of the layout, the lights that are existing there will be replaced with downward-facing canopy lights, and other than that, there's really no additional changes to the proposed parking field. All existing parking spaces are to remain as is, and there's no additional changes to any other layout of the site itself.
Ryan, the, next to driving way, I think it is, that's our most significant setback variance, in that 150 feet is required, and I think we provide 64 feet.
Correct. So we have a 64.92 setback from driving way, where 150 is required, and then we have a 124.65 setback from Hilton Court, where 150 foot is required.
Okay, on driving way, can you tell the board, and I refer the board to their K3 that's in their packet but isn't up there, what is on the opposite side of driving way?
So the opposite.
Push that on.
So the opposite side of Dryden Way just consists of, it's actually a wetland mapped per the DEP. It's wooded and undeveloped in the every area except for there's an access road that's to the, I guess, the east, but the remainder area is just undeveloped land. To the north, I guess, is another office complex where there's, I guess, right along our views are stormwater ponds that are placed out there. And then, as I indicated before, to the south is an existing office complex as shown on our aerial exhibit.
Just a question that I'm trying to remember, is lot 3.08 the one that we allowed residential development? Or is that further along? I'm a little out of...
That's to the west, closer to 202.
That one, okay, yeah, okay. Okay, I knew it was nearby, but
Oh, that's the warehouse.
Didn't we allow?
That's the warehouse.
Onyx warehouse?
yeah, the warehouse is
Just next door.
is just south of it.
Yeah.
I don't think 7 Campus is going away.
No,
No. Yeah, 7 Campus is still, they're looking to do something with that. It was 3 campus and 2 campus across over.
oh, okay.
Closer to 202.
Okay, I just, when I saw 3.08, I was just...
Yeah.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I knew where it was with relation to everything else.
I guess I just wanted to go into more detail before I go over the variances again. Just the proposed lighting plan for the site itself. So as indicated, kind of from the review comments we received, we will update the lighting plan to call out all existing light fixtures to remain in the parking field, and then to clearly indicate the height of the proposed carport lighting fixtures that are shown on the plan. As I indicated on here, the existing light fixtures are relatively low, about, I believe it's 10 feet for them, and then, those were not tall at all, but all of these are proposed underneath the canopy, downward facing, so that won't have any additional effect of lighting, glare upwards. And then on this site, there's really no surrounding properties that are impacted by any of the changes to the lighting on here, where, as indicated, there's the office complex there, and then all the lights that are shown on here, the light levels as they're getting to the property levels diminish to the requirements.
They're still going to be shielded so that there's no visible bulbs off of the property line.
Correct. And we'll update the plans to show the foot candle measurements up to the property line.
Okay.
So I guess just to go to the details of the variances requested, so the carports themselves, the minimum height is 13 feet 6 inches, and then the max height for all these proposed is 20 feet. So we'd be requesting a variance for the height of these structures themselves. There's 2 setbacks requested as part of the location of these carports within the parking field, a 64.92 setback from Dryden Way and a 124.65 setback from Hilton Court. Really, between the 3 variances proposed, there's, the actual carports are being proposed within the existing parking field, which would, at, days of the week, be filled with cars and are paved, so there's no changes to really any impervious surfaces. On here, we did include that number, and we will include this on the overall zoning chart. There's 22 footings proposed. Most of these fall within the existing parking field, but we will include a total number. I believe there's about a 56 square foot increase in impervious coverage on the site. And then we'll include on the zoning chart just the actual total number of impervious coverage of this
And
site.
the existing impervious coverage.
Existing impervious coverage, and then the increase with the additional footings. In terms of the setbacks, as indicated with these being placed within the parking field, based on where these are being located, and the proposed renewable energy associated with these, there's really no negative impact that we're creating with the requested variances from both Dryden Way setback and Hilton Court, and then the height variance associated with the carport structures themselves. That really concludes the...
Discuss stormwater and...
Yeah, that was where I was just discussing the no downspouts and that drainage patterns. Everything's flowing to the center and to the existing inlets.
Did you comment on the total disturbed area? Do you have that calc?
Yeah, this is actually under 5,000 square feet, so... And once again, we'll include that on the plan, just denoting the total area disturbance. And if anything does require us to exceed 5,000 square feet, then we'll include an application for permitting to Conservation District.
Thank you.
So this project will also need to comply with the EV standards?
Correct. So we'll also include a total number of parking spaces on the overall zoning chart.
Members of the board have questions on this, Gordon, you...
Sure. So, with regard to the setbacks from the roads, the existing building, if I'm looking at your cover sheet, has only 94 feet setback to Hilton Court and Dryden Way, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you're proposing 124 feet from Hilton Court and about 64 feet from Dryden Way?
Correct.
Okay, I thought there was something in our ordinance, and Christine, I don't know if you can maybe look this up. On corner lots, you're supposed to pick one of them for front yard when it comes to the setback. I could be totally mistaken, but I thought this came up in another application.
Hoping I'm not confusing
You know,
towns
these-
here, but I believe it applies to both. This is unique because you've got
Three.
three.
Yeah, but I mean, isn't there like a section of our
Yeah.
ordinance, like,
I can comment. You keep the 2 front yards. It's I think what you're thinking of.
Oh, there's no rear yard.
A rear yard.
That's
It's-
right.
It's
There's
a
no rear
rear
yard.
side,
Yeah, I'm sorry,
and you do keep the front yards though.
okay. So you have-
It's a constrained lot. You do have that 150-foot setback all the way on the 3 sides. And the both, and you make a good point that the building, relief was given for the 2 buildings on the site, both on Hilton and Dryden.
Well, in the interest of not exceeding a variance, just in case, how important is that last row of solar panels closest to Dryden?
So I'd have to defer to you.
I mean, it's important to the, you know, to the project. And that's part of why we put in the testimony in the extra exhibit, that there's really nothing, you know, we don't have a neighbor, a significant neighbor on the other side, is how we feel about that one. We've talked about, you know, potentially shifting the row, shifting everything over a row, but we thought this fit more neatly, and frankly, again, Dryden we have a row, a vegetative row along our property border. We've got a vegetative row in the middle of Dryden, and then we have wetlands that is never going to be developed. So we felt that variance was the appropriate place to put those extra panels.
Okay, if you actually just made it a single bank, how much would that reduce the variance to the point where you're at least in line with the building or not?
I mean, per this, it would still exceed slightly. Wouldn't be a lot, but it looks like it would just go beyond the edge of building.
Okay, I'm just curious.
Just to go off of that question, because you said it's important, but you didn't explain why.
I mean, it's part of the overall project, and you know, it obviously comes to some of the economics of the project.
Okay, so yeah, what are your constraints? Why are you cutting it off there when normal aesthetics would say extend it to the end, or cover an additional row and extend it to the end? Can you talk to us?
Are you talking about which side are you talking about?
The
Dryden Way.
The Hilton Court to the west side of the property. Yeah.
Yeah, the Hilton Court, they cut it off at about, I guess, 2/3 of the way, because there's the entrance coming in along the outside of that, and they felt aesthetically it made more sense to have that extra area there, particularly since there's a development on the other side. It's a commercial
aesthetics are an opinion, and I would disagree that is more aesthetically pleasing than to see it run all the ways to the end.
Okay. I mean, that certainly is an option.
I wasn't sure if you were constrained based on the consumption of the building and the size of your system, and whether or not the power companies were saying, no, you can only have this amount of power generated.
Yeah, no, that's my understanding, because I've talked to the client about these variance issues, and, you know, one option was to extend that side out, so that would be fine if that was something the board preferred, to have that evened out.
Oh, I would state that as my preference, that we have some more evenness to that last bank there, whether it's taken from the back side or the front side of some other systems, if you want to maintain the size, or just to extend it further. But that's my comment.
I don't know if this would be the size of the system. If this would be a board preference, but we could conceivably substitute.
You need the microphone.
Substitute this portion of this row of panels closest to the building, if that would, you know, mitigate the fact that the panels go beyond the building, and put it there. That would be a redesign that would be workable.
So in other words, you would not be asking us to exceed any side yard or front yards that are already exceeded by the building?
We'd still have that along the rest of it. We would just take out the portion closest to the building, so it wouldn't be an...
Oh, so you would just take out the portion closest?
Yeah.
You couldn't just give us a half-loaded panel on that row and get a lot closer to the setback the building has?
What do you know about the half rows for feasibility? Have you talked about that? Yeah, I could actually call the client if we should take a break. I can find that out right now. That would be helpful.
I'm just going to say, because I personally have no objections on Dryden Way or on whatever to solar panels being visible, so I personally am less concerned about encroaching on that particular setback. I'm in a spot like this, frankly, I think more solar is better than less solar.
I would agree that my concern is more just about having a partial bank rather than a full bank is probably the limit of my concern.
And I guess I'm the only person that seems to care about the setbacks, so
Yeah.
don't make the call on my behalf.
Well, I mean, it is our job to be concerned about whether it works with the master plan, and we don't want other people saying, well, you allowed 64 feet on Dryden Way when they want to put theirs right up against somebody else's house. So we have to be careful to that extent. We're just trying to find ways that maybe we can mitigate the incursion into the setback, and I'm not entirely sure that this location is a bad spot anyway for just doing what you want, but it does seem odd to have it be a little uneven in the one spot.
I think I'll just add my own personal anecdote. I have solar on my roof, for example, and there's one block which is missing, and I see it every single day. I pull up into my driveway, and doesn't impact me negatively for the most part, but it's a noticeable thing that, just says, why do it that way?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I can just include kind of, unfortunately,
Well, that's
this
odd all over the
includes the
place.
same
Yeah.
thing to where it's not all uniform. I mean, it's uniform along the entry drive, but not uniform along the edge of the row, and it's really, I guess,
Should we go ahead and give them permission to fill out that lane so that it would work if they so chose to do so,
I would not object to that,
and then leave the rest?
but I think that's a setback issue, so I would defer to Gordon on that.
Well, I have no problem with that side. I mean, the building already encroaches more than the solar panels would. So to me, we already have a pre-existing side yard variance. Sorry, front yard variance. I mean, if we respect that, I'm fine respecting that. It's when we have to create extra setbacks that I, shall we say, like to make sure there's absolutely no other way to do it.
One
Fair
thing
enough.
I would say in response to that is, there are setbacks of the primary principal building. That's what we're talking about with the building, but there's frequently separate variances for accessory structure setbacks. So I'm not sure that this should be that different than, a shed or a garage. I know it is a little different, but then, frequently there is a greater variance for accessory structures than there is for the primary building. So I guess I'm not quite seeing the level of concern with these accessory structures going further out than the principal structure.
Well, you have an ordinance, you need a variance relief from it, so.
Right, well, yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah.
And you might get a no vote if you don't give them all these lists.
Yeah, no,
Well, is there any additional landscaping or buffering proposed?
there is none, but I guess we can work with the
we could
township forester to supplement.
Buffering on the
Dryden Way.
Dryden Way.
I mean, frankly, if you've got some trees along there that would obscure the height of the accessory structures, I don't think anybody would ever notice it.
Yeah, I mean, we could work to supplement the existing landscaping that's out there.
And you are removing some trees from the parking lot. They may not be very
Very
big,
unimpressive
but
trees in this case, but yes.
I think you could do something.
So you would
more.
agree to consider to improve the landscaping to provide some buffering to replace the trees that you were taking out?
Yes, and we
On
would
Dryden.
provide that along the Dryden side.
Yep. Okay.
There's the piece.
So on a slightly different note, I don't think I picked up on which direction the slope of the panels would be facing, because you have an east-west situation on this lot.
Yeah, you know what, I'd have to confirm with our, it was, on the ones that are always facing south, it's easy, but I actually don't know if these are sloped towards Dryden or Hilton Court, just based on the layouts they provided to us.
Or mixed.
I believe, no, they're definitely
They're
all
all
the same, I'm pretty
direction?
sure.
Okay. Now, let's see. Yeah, my guess is to the east, because your north is slightly
Yeah,
off.
slightly tilted. And I believe that's how we looked at it, because for stormwater, we had anticipated it was going that way, but I would have to confirm to make sure that they're not facing them the other direction. But I guess, just to add on stormwater, what makes this easier is everything's dished to the center here, so whether it's facing that way or that way, it's all running right back to the same stormwater inlets that are in the parking field.
All right, any other questions by members of the board on this testimony at this time? Mr.
Yes,
Napolitano?
thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a question about this lot looks more dated than the last lot did. So is this lot in need of repairs before the panels are installed? Pretty sure this is in the same section we approved this last application, and that parking lot was rough shape too. So I see in the overhead picture here, looks like a lot of patchwork. So is it in good enough shape to be all this deconstructed?
I mean, I guess we'd really have to walk this currently just to review the conditions that exist today. I mean, it was, if you looked on the additional exhibits of some of the site photos, just to give an enlargement, a lot of this was really alligator cracking that's going on here, which they have sealed. I would have to look to see what the current condition is, just because I don't know what's happened in the last year.
So we would provide photos as a condition?
Yeah, additional updated photos.
Thank you.
Well, I think what we're getting at here is just for the owner to do all this work and then have to come back in just a few years to repair a parking lot doesn't make a lot of sense. You should look at a cost analysis of rehabbing the parking lots that need it, that are going to be deteriorated over the next few years, and not have to revisit the parking lot, because it's going to be difficult to do that once you have these structures in your way, and very cost prohibitive to repave a parking lot with structures on there. So it's, it's something that the owner should be thinking about as doing a condition assessment and having the paving work, milling, resurfacing as needed done prior to the installation of these canopies.
And I guess Chris would be, I'm not sure how we'd want to incorporate that into the approval, just.
That's our recommendation.
Right, no, I think it's a recommendation.
Yeah.
And we'll provide the data.
You're gonna drill, it's gonna get worse in some of these areas, so. Check it.
Any other questions by members of the board? No. Okay, our professionals have anything?
No.
Further, Counselor?
Just a quick summary regarding the variances, which, as you know, we're seeking 3 variances, 2 for the setbacks, and the one along Dryden is a more significant one, which we've agreed to mitigate with some plantings, to be approved by the board professionals. Again, this satisfies the positive criteria in that it promotes utilization of renewable energy resources, and we don't believe that it causes any substantial detriment to the public good, the zone plan, or the zoning ordinance. That's particularly true in this case because this area is surrounded either by commercial uses or by wetlands that will not be constructed on in any conceivable future time. Also, note that, again, this the inherently beneficial use definition includes wind, solar, and photovoltaic energy facilities, or photovoltaic energy facilities. So we believe we fit within that category and therefore satisfy the positive criteria as well. And for those reasons and the reasons that Ryan set forth in his testimony, we'd ask that the board approve the preliminary and final site plan with the variances for the 2 setbacks and for height as well.
All right, before we do anything here, I just want to point out that there are no members of the public here to ask questions or to speak in favor of or in opposition to. So.
Not even a scout?
It's not even the scouts. The scouts are gone. All right,
I just have one more comment. I don't think we brought it up yet, but the same condition for the EV parking stalls would be on this project as well.
That was mentioned early on. And they nodded that they agree that it probably applies. So, regardless, so that closes the evidentiary portion of tonight's hearing. Any need for discussion? Do I hear a resolution? Mr. Neal?
Oh, would you make a motion?
I'll do my best to live up to your standards, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Motion to approve application number 22507, 9 Campus Drive, KMLC, on 9 Campus Drive, Block 202, Lot 3.11, preliminary and final major site plan to construct a solar canopy and carports, subject to the conditions presented by our professionals.
Those conditions are to provide an updated lighting plan showing the location and foot candles with the measurement to the property line, so location of the fixtures and the foot candle measurements to the property line. Provide an updated zoning chart with the impervious coverage calculations. Note the total area of disturbance on the plans. Provide updated plans showing the requirement and locations of the electric vehicle charging stations. Update the zoning chart to provide the parking calculations, existing parking calculations. Add landscaping along the eastern property line along Dryden Way, and resubmit the height calculations of the proposed canopy to the fire chief for review.
And that concludes our motion.
Second, Neely.
Nora, would you call the roll, please?
Neely?
Yes.
Matt?
Although I have some reservations about granting a more than 50% variance for setback for an accessory structure, given the fact that it's a inherently beneficial use and mitigated with landscaping and the lack of development and neighbors on Dryden Way, I'm going to vote yes.
Tom, you ready? That's a yes. Napolitano?
Yes.
Von Aiken?
Yes.
Dinsmore?
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Good thought.
Yep, next Monday.
The only person ever going to look at this again is me and Andrew.
I know. No, but I look, you never know. The bottom line is, you know, I just want to state my reasons on the record in case it comes up again. I was really, you said, hey, you guys granted on this.
Mr. Chairman,
I said,
Nora advises that there is a meeting next Monday.
Yes. Yes, on the 12th, we have another meeting. Then we're good for the year.
All right.
Okay.
Those of us who return in January, those of us who don't, thank you for your service.
Get us out.
Who's up for appointment?
I don't know who's up for when.
I think
I think you got one more year, do I?
I
want my Monday site back.
4 years, right?
4 years,
So
yeah.
that should be good for 1 more year.
Thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn?
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Oh, good. Anybody opposed?
Nay.
You get to stay here.